beginners in the art of keeping secrets. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Sunday Funday here at GoIndieNow. I'm your host, Joe Compton, and we are here today to celebrate one of our own, a frequent contributor to GoIndieNow, Miss Christie Stratos, as she revealed the cover to her latest book, Lock and Key, which is what you just saw in the opening here, and it's pretty awesome, isn't it? It's a very intriguing cover, very interesting. It says a lot with just the image that it presents. And if you read the back blurb, which I highly encourage, you're going to just salivate at the opportunity to read this thing. I think it's an amazing bit of words there. And it draws you in and brings you into this world that Christie is so carefully crafted and laid and put in front of us. It's fantastic. If you haven't read Anatomy of a Darkened Heart, which is the first book in the Dark Victoriana Collection, definitely go check that out. And then get ready for Lock and Key, which releases on September 7th. In honor of Lock and Key, I've come up with a 10-question tag game for all of you to partake in. And if you didn't see my message on our Facebook page or our Twitter, I am actually offering to purchase 5 copies of Lock and Key and give them out to the first 5 of you who decide to do this tag game today and post it and tag GoIndieNow. So, record it, edit it, and post it, and then tag GoIndieNow with your letting everybody know that you've done so. And the first 5 I find will get a copy of Lock and Key. I will on September 7th when it comes out. If you already pre-ordered Lock and Key, I still would love to see you do the tag game. And if you're one of the first 5, I have something else special for you, which I will talk to you about when the time comes. So do the tag game, have fun with it. It's all in celebration of Christie, so I hope you do take this on. And like I said, there's 10 questions here, all centered around, you guessed it, a lock and a key. Well, to a certain extent. It's also centered around Christie's world as well. All right, so let's get with the tag game, shall we? So number 1 is, what is our favorite spin-off? Obviously, if you don't know, Anatomy of a Darkened Heart and Lock and Key are kind of a spin-off of one another. They're part of a same collection and they intersect, but they're 2 different stories, and that's really what a spin-off is. For this one, I chose Gertrude and Claudius by John Updike, which is John's take on a incident in Hamlet, which takes place. 2 very prominent and key characters who have an incredible backstory that's kind of touched upon a little bit by Shakespeare in Hamlet, but doesn't go too deeply. So it's kind of an interesting idea that John takes on here. Mr. Updike really finds a rhythm. It's an amazing story. If you're a big fan of Hamlet, I think you'll really love this story, because it really is like it's kind of a prequel, but then it also kind of runs into Act 1 of Hamlet. So it kind of runs along with the story, and it has the most incredible plot of all murder plots of anything I've ever read. It's fantastic. Gertrude and Claudius by John Updike. That's my pick for number 1. Number 2, favorite little shop. There's this cool little metaphysical bookshop in Mountain View, California. If you breathe it in, you really get just this sense of yourself, and the books in there are amazing. But really, truly, the journals in there are fantastic, and it has the widest array of scents that I've ever seen. Whether they're oils, whether they're sticks, whether it's chalks, whether it's charcoals. it has just, it's an entire almost side of the store, and it is just awesome. And it's one of the places I'll get lost in there for a couple hours. I could also say music. There's a lot of little record stores and stuff like that. The Mayan Theater in Denver is another really cool, interesting place that I love to go to and explore because of the architecture and, of course, independent film. But this place is one of those that you just, anytime that I can be around. Castro Street is the name of the street I was thinking of. But anyway, that is my choice for number 2. Number 3, something interesting or weird that you have a key for. And I don't understand why I have a key for it. I don't understand what the use is for it because it's on the zipper. But I have a key for my luggage. Why do I have a lock on my luggage? It's so weird. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't lock anything. It doesn't make, it's just like, it's almost like a prop. It's almost like, window dressing, and it's just weird. And maybe it's because I'm not doing it right. Maybe you have to like bring them together and then lock them up. I don't know. Maybe that's the way to do it. But I have literally never used the key on my keychain that has that lock on it. That is to that lock. It's the strangest thing to have a key for, in my opinion. Number 4, favorite scene that takes place in a retail establishment. And I went retail establishment. I could have done bookstore or stayed alone, but I'm going to broaden it a little bit because I don't want you guys to have to think too long about this. Of course, you're trying to post a video quickly. If you're trying to get one of the pre-ordered copies that I'm offering, you want to do this tag and not have to do so much research. So retail, I broadened it to retail establishments. Hopefully that broadens your thought process in doing the answer to this one. But anyway, number 4 for me is Clerks, and that you can choose the entire movie. Really, for Clerks, but I'm gonna choose one particular scene, and one of my all-time favorite scenes in that movie is the scene where Randall is watching some hermaphrodite porn on a little TV sitting on the cooler. And Dante's girlfriend comes, and he's not there. She goes to the bathroom, and then all of a sudden Dante shows up, and she thinks that they just had sex in the bathroom. I won't ruin what has happened, but spoiler alert, that's part of the scene. So that's one of my favorite scenes in that movie. Very, very funny, very, very inventive. There's a lot of great scenes. There's a scene about the two of them talking about which is the better movie, Empire or Return of the Jedi. That's another favorite scene. There's great scenes in the video store that's connected to the liquor store. There's a great scene where he's confronted by a customer who's asking him about opinion about a movie, and then they get into a semantics argument. But the whole movie's amazing, obviously. It's a great, great film. One of my all-time favorites. But that particular scene I'm going to choose for the scene. And please do choose a scene. You can talk about a whole movie too, but if you have a scene from Clerks that you want to add to mine, awesome. Anyway, number 5, favorite book or movie about Victorian times. Well, I went ahead with the Cater Street Hangman. That's by Anne Perry. It's a murder mystery. It introduces one of her famous inspectors, Inspector Pitt, and it's a really cool, interesting book. It's set in 1881, I think it's 1881, if I'm not mistaken. And it's in England. It's in a higher upper class society, and young women are being pegged off by a murderer, serial killer, and it's really interesting in the aspect of that. There's a lot of class warfare. There's some innocence being personified into a grandiose here's the world and stark reality of world, because most of these folks are high society, upper class, so their class, they don't get a lot of the dredge and evil and things that happen that is part of the lexicon of the world that they're in. They're very shut off from it. So this is an interesting dynamic in that respect. And the murder mystery itself is very cool to follow. It has a very cool ending. There's a lot of great Agatha Christie, but I think Anne Perry really embraces kind of the cultural and social climb of society that and kind of turns it on its head. I like that kind of thing. You know, following the rules and going along the road and hitting plot points and certain points within a book is fine, and those are good stories. There's nothing wrong with them. But I like stories like this that are very unique and different and really take at a different angle the idea of, you know, this is the way it should be, and it's really not. So I think that one is one of my favorites for that. Number 6, favorite book or movie with a main character's name in the title. Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. That's my choice. It is Frank Capra's little political comedy with Jimmy Stewart, and this is really the movie that put Jimmy Stewart into a stratosphere above all stratospheres. He completely knocks it out of the park. And this is also one that helps Claude Rains get completely worldwide recognition. He actually, an interesting tidbit is he and Harry Carey tie for Best Supporting Actor. They couldn't choose one over the other. You kind of hear nowadays in the Academy Awards when two people are nominated for the same movie how they split the votes and they don't win because they split the votes. Well, this is the exact opposite of that. Where both of them were so strong that they couldn't choose one over the other, so they decided to split the votes enough to where they both got the same amount of votes and won. It's happened before. It's not the first time that there's been a tie in the Academy Awards. I don't think it was the first time ever that there was a tie either. I could be mistaken on that fact, but this is a really interesting movie and a story on its own because it's about, you know, a junior senator, congressman, and his naivety to politics. He's kind of from like a backwoods district, and you know, he's put on some committees where he is kind of the patsy. He's the guy that everybody's going to bring along so that they can get the votes, and it's very cool and intricate in that respect because it's so simple and the concepts are so interesting. If you're a big follower of politics, this is a movie that kind of gives you a little insight into how things are done behind doors. I'm a big West Wing fan. That's probably one of my favorite all-time shows. So it really kind of gives you that sense of it back then, and it's very interesting. And the coolest thing is that you have a protagonist who is a congressman, who has a moral code and just has a divine right to, you know, do the right thing for his constituents and for him and his party. And that, I think that is the irony of all ironies for any of us living in this time and this age, right? I mean, anybody exhibiting that kind of behavior, we would fall out of our chairs almost. I mean, not to say that every congressman is dirty or wrong, but there is so much politics in our society and in our government that it kind of dilutes the idea of right and wrong and good and bad because we're so numb to it, you know. And here's a guy who's rising above all that, and that's pretty cool. And it's an incredibly awesome movie. And Jimmy Stewart is such a powerhouse. He is. If you ever want to learn acting, watch what he does with his hands. Watch how when he's nervous, he fidgets. When he's strong, he clenches. When he's and his neck. I know it's kind of weird to think about, but he will do this when he's gonna speak. He'll breathe in, and all these little subtle things that really project so massively on a screen. I mean, they really, really drive home what he's doing, and he brings you in with those. It's not the words he says, and it's not how he says the words. Those are all great things as well. But It's what he does with his hands, his neck. Those are the things that separate the great from the good and the elite from the great. So number 7, favorite sophomore effort, favorite second movie or book from the creator. And the list is endless. I couldn't believe how many movies, especially movies were just, it was unbelievable. There's a lot of books too, but God, the movies. I mean, think about this. Here's just a small sampling of the movies that I'm talking about that were the second film made by this director. 7, Jaws, Requiem for a Dream, Memento. I mean, Pulp Fiction. I mean, wow, right? I mean, that is amazing. And Pulp Fiction should be my choice because that's the highest ranked movie on my list. But I'm going to choose a different movie. I'm going to choose Rushmore. This is Wes Anderson's second movie from Bottle Rocket. If you haven't seen Bottle Rocket or Rushmore, oh man, you got to. These are masterpieces. These are intricate, very funny, very fast moving, very cynical. If you like that kind of fast dialogue, cynical tone, the comedic touches, Wes Anderson's hard to beat. He's hard to beat. And Rushmore is the personal touch of all personal touches, in my opinion. Jason Schwartzman is awesome in this movie. Bill Murray is awesome in this movie. This movie, if you don't know, Rushmore is about a young man who is a scholarship kid to a very high-end private school, and he becomes like the everything. Rushmore, he wants to do everything. He's head of the drama department. He runs almost every club in campus, and if there isn't a club, he creates it. He's a terrible student, but an awesome flag bearer for this private institution called Rushmore. And him and Bill Murray form this affinity for one another. Bill Murray is a very successful, very rich businessman. And they just have this bond. And then a teacher comes into town who is a widowed teacher who is just the spark of fresh air that these two guys need. And of course, Jason Schwartzman's character is in love with her. And then there's stuff that happens that set things in motion and turn this entire thing on its head. There's incredible scenes in this movie. There's incredible dialogue. Probably one of the best written movies I've ever seen. The music in this movie, I know that's a weird thing to think about, but it is perfect. Absolutely spot on. If I Was Younger is the last song. I spoiler alert, and it just fits perfectly to what we just witnessed. But it is perfect in almost every sense. To me, it is one of the best movies ever made. And on this list, the movies I named are all up there very high for me. But that one I'm going to point out. So if you haven't seen Rushmore and his directorial debut, which was Bottle Rocket, that movie is just stellar as well. Two very strong efforts, and Wes Anderson was off and running. This is Grand Budapest Hotel is another Wes Anderson film, if you haven't seen that. Moonrise Kingdom, those are all Wes Anderson movies. But so anyway, that's the deal there. Rushmore is my pick. I know some of you could pick the other movies, and that's fine. Please do so, because there's phenomenal movies on this list. I can't believe it. That these were the second one. Spielberg's second movie was Jaws. I mean, what? Are you kidding me? That's crazy, right? That's insane. I mean, we didn't even touch on American Graffiti, George Lucas's second film. I mean, come on. The list goes on and on with these. And even M. Night Shyamalan's second film, Unbreakable. A lot of people think that's better than Sixth Sense. So, but anyway, that's a really tough category. there's a lot of choices, especially if you go the movie route. I'd be interested to hear the book route. I mean, obviously Harry Potter would probably be one of those, right? So I'm not sure if that was J.K. Rowling's second book or not. I don't know if she published anything before Harry Potter, to be honest. But anyway, so there you go. In Cold Blood, I could have gone In Cold Blood, one of my favorites, but you've heard me talk about that one a lot. So, all right, let's move on. Number 8, favorite black sheep. And that would be Nate Fisher from 6 Feet Under. I went TV show on this. This is the first time I've ever done a TV show, I think. But for sure, I didn't have a hard time with this. There was plenty to choose from on the novel side of things as well, and movie side as well. But I really wanted, when I wrote this, Nate Fisher was the first thing. I wrote it down, and I wrote Nate Fisher right after it, which I typically don't do. I write the questions first and then think about them. But Nate Fisher is the quintessential black sheep, in my opinion. And not only is he the black sheep, but he's the guy that comes back when his father dies. I'm not spoiling anything. That's how the series really starts. Richard Jenkins plays Mr. Fisher, the father who runs his funeral home. David is Michael C. Hall, which everybody knows who he is. He's Dexter. He played the gay brother who runs the everyday operations, but Nate ends up having to share the responsibilities when his father dies and comes in. He's like this drifter. He's like this free spirit. He's like this hippie, pot smoking, just wanderer. And, he gets involved with this girl who has this amazing storyline because she is Rachel Griffin and played brilliantly. Just an incredible cast. It just keeps piling up and piling up, and Nate Fisher ends up being this symbolic character. It's very cool, the incredible journey that Nate Fisher goes on in this series. Really, to me, the most impressive journey of all journeys, and I think he really embodies what a black sheep really was, but can be seen as. Black sheeps don't always have to be the criminal, evil element of things, and he certainly wasn't. He had his moments. He was dirty and underhanded in some respects. He was also very unfeeling and withdrawn, but he also had these moments of grace, heroism. Just amazing to me. The character arc. It's one of the best written on television ever. I think Jesse from Breaking Bad might be a close second, but Black Sheep, I don't know if I would go so far as to say he was the black sheep of the show. Anyway. Number 9, something you will always buy when you go into a shop. Christie's going to love this one because I think her and I are very similar in this, and this is what endeared me to Christie and her YouTube channel. She went on the shopping spree once to Staples and bought a bunch of notebooks. And my wife will tell you, anybody who knows me will tell you, here, I got one right here. I'll do the Mead ones. I have like 7,000 of these. I always like the college rule. I like the 3 and 5 subject ones because it just seems like more paper to me. And I also liked that I could, I used to write, when I wrote novels and notebooks, that I know where the 3 acts, I would do the 3 subject ones so I know where the 3 acts were, and I would write within each subject, each act. So that's how I kind of knew when to stop, because it's 120 pages. So that's a movie script. So, 30, 60, 90, and you start, so there you go. So that's that really helps you. A little tip for young screenwriters, or young novelists even. 120 may be half a book, so you may want to get 2 of these, or get the 5 one, which is 200 pages, which if you write on both sides, then becomes 400 pages. So, but this is a great thing to keep you, because one of the biggest mistakes I see young screenwriters make is they write so much and they induce so much, and they don't realize that this is a blueprint. It needs to be narrowed down and pared down, and this will keep you in the 3-act structure if you follow the tabs. Just a neat little trick that I use for that. But I have a ton of those, and I also have a ton of journals. I like leather bound. I like skin ones, moleskin. I like just plain old upholstered ones, paper mached ones. I like ones with character, interesting things on the cover, but the paper is, you got that manila paper with the red and blue lines, and they're really thick and very interesting and very hard to fold over. I love all those. Those are fantastic. I usually do a lot of poetry in those books. I don't really write stories, but anytime I get a story idea, I used to carry like 10 or 15 notebooks around with me with a story idea, get the little ones. So notebooks and journals are something that I will always look for when I'm in a store. I don't care what it is, from CVS to Barnes & Noble to the Metaphysical Bookstore, which has some awesome journals. So if you're ever in Mountain View, California, stop by the Metaphysical Bookstore on Castro Street and look for a journal. I've bought probably about 20 of them there. They're expensive there, but sometimes you really love what you pay for. But that is what I buy when I'm in the shop. So number 10, name an indie author whose next release you are looking most forward to. Well, guess who I'm going to name? That's right. I'm looking very much forward to Locke and Key by Christie Stratos. I think because I'm so in Anatomy of a Darkened Heart space right now, I mean, this story is so riveting and so interesting, so intricate, and there's just so much internal things going on. I'm blown away by it. I really am, and I know that Locke and Key is going to be kind of a different tone, a different idea, but same vein and same interesting kind of thing. And I know I can't wait to read it and sit down with it. I won't take as long to read this one as I did Anatomy of a Darkened Heart. That's obvious. That's for sure statement. But I just think it's going to be amazing. I'm really looking forward to investing more time into reading. That's my solemn goal. But I'm really excited for Locke and Key, and that's why I did this today. Christie's awesome. She's one of the indies that just is out there always supporting us. She's got the right intentions, and she's somebody that really does something amazing for our community. And I couldn't be more excited for her and this experience that she's going through right now, the cover reveal, and then of course September 7th when the book comes out. It's going to be a pretty glorious day. I know she already has her physical copy. I think that's a proof, if I'm not mistaken. But regardless, that's the important piece. Congratulations, Christie. Do this tag, everybody. Come on, do it for Christie. Do the tag, and let's have some fun with this. Again, Locke and Key, September 7th. I will put the pre-order link down below in the YouTube description, as well as part of the questions. Obviously, the questions will be there that you can cut and paste and use at your leisure and put together your video and your Sunday Funday video. And let me remind you real quickly, there will not be a Sunday Funday tag game next Sunday. I am taking a sabbatical. It's my anniversary was actually like a week ago, but my wife and I are going and celebrating it next weekend. So after I release the next episode of our flagship show, which is Friday, and then of course another Week in Indies on Thursday, I will be taking some time off, not just a few days. And the next Week in Indies will be 2 weeks from next Thursday, so there will not be a Sunday Funday game or this Week in Indies. I'm gonna give my contributing friends a week off as well, and enjoy your time, everybody, and we'll see you Obviously, Thursday is the next This Week in Indies. Friday, the flagship show, episode 17. It's time to go indie now. And then 2 weeks later, you'll get another This Week in Indies and a Sunday Funday. All right, everybody. Until then, it's always time to go indie now. Bye.